Adoption of the agenda, we have one addendum that's been added, 8.6, which is the Alberta Rural Bus Service. Is there any other changes, Councillor Long?
I would like to enter into new business. I guess it would be 8.7, I guess, and just a discussion regarding the video that's out there for the Slave Lake Council and the response that I've received anyways, and I know Councillor Gilroy has received as well, calls and from our neighbors in the different communities that are quite concerned about what was stated and want to know what where our position is.
Okay, so that'll be 8.7. Anything else? Seeing none, can I get a motion with those two amendments? Councillor Gilroy.
Okay, I move that Council adopt the agenda with the two additions.
Okay, perfect. All in favor? Carried. And do we have no scheduled delegations? Any public delegations, Chris?
Do you want me to keep the light up or not?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's so we're all in the loop.
And don't break the light up your...
Okay, good evening to Council. First of all, at the last meeting for the people on the video TV, I didn't identify myself as Chair of Beautification, so I'll do that right now. So for Light Up this year, due to COVID, we've basically canceled everything for obvious reasons that I'm sure people understand. So all we're going to do this year is we're going to flip the switch at 7 o'clock to turn on the lights. The inflatables will not be up, the decorations as usual, to discourage the social gatherings and possible COVID. We decided we weren't even going to do that. So we're going to have a residential parade as the town did for Easter and for Seniors Week. So Santa will be traveling around town through the residential areas from about 7 to 8 o'clock. We hope to post a parade route before Light Up Day on the, oh goodness, 27th, is that the Friday? Yep. It escapes my memory now what day it is. So basically we scaled everything down and canceled it. So if you have any questions, I'll certainly answer them.
Councillor Gilroy?
No offense to your time, but I'm thinking a residential parade, wouldn't it be a little easier to do during the day so that people can see all the floats and whatever you're going to do, as opposed to being very dark? Just a thought.
Okay, it is a thought. That is probably a non-school day too. It usually is. I haven't checked, so.
It would be nice to see everything.
Yeah, the parade is usually at 7, so it's more of a lights on the floats things anyway for visual than it is some of the other things. So.
I know with some of the other parades, Chris, you've had lots of other floats. Is this just going to be sort of the Santa Claus float, or are you having other floats?
We're inviting anyone who wants to join just to tag along.
Oh, okay.
However many that is, we have no idea. I don't think it will be a lot, but I could be wrong.
The only other question I have would be, when you do the traditional parade, we have security in place in very well lit areas. Okay, how will security be done if it's dark outside?
We hope to have the police leading the parade, and we will have someone at the end with flashing lights or at the beginning of the end. We're going to have to be careful, though, not to distance ourselves and break ourselves up. If it happens, we're going to have to somehow notify someone at the front to get us back together again.
Good. No other questions? Thanks for the update.
Okay, and just one last thing, that a certain councillor's wife may have mentioned to him already that his suit may be lent out to a certain individual to do the honors.
Oh, perfect.
I think you can piece together what I said there.
Way to go, Arlen.
Without being too sneaky.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
So,
Arlen's suit is going to be loaned out.
You never know.
yeah, and we had talked a little bit about the inflatables, not putting them up. The town staff have to stay and police them, and again, the just discourage the social gathering. Maybe not the right decision, but that's what the decision we made, and we're going to go with it. I guess there's time if there's a great public outcry to it, or maybe we'll reconsider.
It's right for the moment, Chris.
Okay,
Thank you.
the town's staff has already done the Civic Square, we were told today, so
Nice.
that was good. We're going to do the ground lights beautification on Saturday morning. And as Vern said, probably do tests next week. And
Cool.
so I think they're way ahead of schedule than usual. So,
Well, we had a pretty warm fall to get going on it. Yeah.
oh, there's been some brutal days over the years for sure.
I think Randy's been pretty instrumental. Yeah, Randy and Jason, yeah.
Okay, so thanks to council again for your involvement in that, and make sure you send us the bill in early December. Thanks.
All right. All right, we'll move on to item 3.1. Can I get a motion on the fire chief's report? Councillor Gilroy?
The council received the fire chief's October 2020 report for information.
All right, I'll turn it over to our chief to add to his report or show anything you want to highlight.
Just a couple of comments. We have held our first intake, recruitment meeting last night. We had 6 new people hand in their application, and as I've indicated before, we're kind of doing a little bit of a new intake process, and we're reviewing as it's going along. Basically, last night what we had was members just new folks show up and just watch what we do for practices, and kind of allows them to make a little bit of evaluation on whether or not they want to pursue, and pretty much everybody's, so we've got our recruitment training going to be happening in a couple weeks from now, and we've got 5 days set up, and we're setting up basically lesson plans and a day plan and that kind of thing, so we're going through that. So 6 applications. This recruitment drive, I think, has been very successful. I hope some of you have seen some of the stuff on Facebook that we've been putting out there. We've had one of our members do a fantastic video that I think has gone around a little bit. I've got a couple of really good comments from Fire Chief up in high level, so those kinds of things we're getting back from that. So we're kind of working on the talent that we have in the fire department to do things like that. We do have folks that are there, that's for sure. So I'm glad we got 6 applications in. Right now we've got 23 members, and adding those 6 will put us at 29. Ideally, we've got room for 30 lockers on the one side, so we're doing that. We also had one of our members works at the Youth Assessment Center, and she asked if she could mentor a student or a kid, bring them to the fire hall, and just do work there for us. So I agreed with that, and there were stipulations that she had to be there with that person at all times, watching exactly what's going on. She brought one of the kids there on Sunday, and basically he did a bunch of hose work, rolled hose, and he was just happier than ever. He went back to Yak, and he just had the greatest day. So I think that's a positive thing, and if we can change one person's life just some way, shape, or form, then that's a good thing. So that was kind of cool to see, and I wanted feedback to see what happened. So that was kind of good to see. Sat down with the sales rep for the Scott air packs, and went through process of basically going through all the specs. Got essentially the air packs ordered. He says potentially somewhere mid-January is when we'll actually see the air packs. And just so that you know, since September we've had 3 of our air pack units go out of service, and I'm not going to be sending them out to get them repaired, because each pack is going to be like a $700, $800 bill to fix. So the bonus of these air packs is they have bumper-to-bumper warranty for their lifetime. So if anything like that happens with these air packs, I send them out. If it's a long-term duration, this company's going to send me an air pack as a loaner. but it doesn't cost anything for us to repair them. So that's kind of a really, really huge selling feature of getting the ear pack. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, and go from there. Coming up on the 16th, with all the COVID rules and stuff, typically the company that's building our fire truck sends people out to actually have a look at it in the plant, but we don't have that option, so we're going to be doing a video viewing or Zoom viewing of the truck. And Michael, Karen, and myself, we're actually thinking video viewing is fine, but I would like to actually see, touch, feel what the truck looks like. Unfortunately, with the build, the truck is getting built in the States. They have to bring the truck to the border, and the Rocky Phoenix guys have to walk across the border to pick the truck up and drive it across the border and then bring it into Canada. So there's all kinds of stuff going on there. Long and short of it, like I said, Mike and I are thinking of doing a one-day trip. We're going to head down to Red Deer, leave here like 5 o'clock in the morning, or head down there, have a look at the truck, get some ideas. Mike's a mechanic. I've got building background, so hopefully we'll be able to nitpick it apart before it actually comes to town here. So that's kind of the plan in the works, I guess, if you want to call it something. One other thing I'd just like to bring light to you, to your, I guess, information, and that is the call on October 28th. We got that call at basically 1:30 in the morning. So we had seven folks wake up at 1:30 in the morning. We worked till 7 o'clock, right when everybody's alarm goes off, and they went basically right from the fire hall, went home, cleaned up, and they all went to work. So just kind of gives you a little bit of idea of the dedication of what you have for people that are doing things. They get up, they go to the fire calls, and if they have to work the next day, they are all at work. And I talked to the one guy at Napa, and he says, like, he was going great guns, and about 7, 8 o'clock, and then he just crashed, and he was asleep for a while. So, yeah, that's I think October in a nutshell. We've had a lot of things going on this week, as I'm probably sure you know. We had the structure fire in town. I did post a little blurb online just to, I guess, clarify a little bit of information, give people some points to think about. And I'm almost thinking for any kind of a major call, like I know Slave Lake has done that. They just do little short bulletins to give information out, and I think that would be kind of a, just a little bit of a courtesy thing, because everybody's curious, and if I can just quell some rumors and stuff like that, then I think that's an efficient way to do it, is through Facebook. Facebook is a wonderful thing. It's got us a great recruitment drive, and just throwing things out there quickly, I think also works well. I think I've rambled on long enough.
Okay. Questions for our chief? Councillor Danaka?
So I'm assuming that you've ordered the breathing masks and stuff because you were meeting with the county the following day or later that week. So I'm assuming they agreed to that purchase?
Yes, the county council has signed off on it. You guys have signed off on it, and basically it's got traction. It's moving forward.
Perfect.
And I thank you guys all for supporting that, and I told all my firefighters, if they see you, thank you.
Are you still working through Century Valley on that? Or who supplies them?
The breathing apparatus,
Yeah.
it's Gullivan,
Oh, Gullivan.
and it's actually 3M Scott.
Yeah.
And it was quite actually interesting. The 3M Scott guy is a relation to John Paul Rose, so he has kind of a soft spot for High Prairie area. So we're getting a couple of little perks along with it. So kind of deal that in. So that's yeah. And I was going to go through, and actually I did. I phoned for a quote from a company out of BC, and in discussion with them, he says, well, I'll have to contact the Scott representative and see what we can do with you. And I says, is it Garth? He says, yeah. I said, so basically I'm talking to the same person. So there's no sense in getting a price quote from you, because it's eventually going to come from Garth anyhow. So If you're dealing with Scott Air Packs, you're dealing with Garth from 3M. And if you're dealing with MSA, it's basically the Western Canada rep. So, yeah.
Councillor Gilroy?
I noticed that, or we've noticed since you've come on board that you've had a lot of catching up to do, and going through inventory and all the rest, catching up on paperwork and renewing stuff. How would you say you're doing? About halfway?
Ask me this week and ask me next week. This week I felt like my head was going below the water, and I think I'm treading at water level here right now. I'm hoping I'm going to be above water next week. It's all depends on the week. Like as I was telling Mayor, when I have a structure fire, there's all the activity on the fire ground, but it's all the stuff after the fire that creates a whole lot of work for me, and I don't expect my volunteer firefighters to do the paperwork. That's my job, but it's a mountain of paperwork that has to get done. So yeah, I'm managing. I do put in a few extra hours, right, Rod?
Every day.
No, just wondering because, as I said, you've tended to come up with a lot of items that have been overlooked for expiration dates, stuff like that, and just wanted to see how that was coming because of all the challenges with where the money's coming from, things like that, and we want to take some pressure off you. So it's nice to see you're getting closer to the end.
Yeah. I guess this essentially could be in the November report, but I'll allude a little bit to this. Past 2 days, I've had Jamie Coots. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was the past fire chief in Slave Lake. He's kind of traveled worldwide. He's doing a fire services evaluation of the County Big Lakes, and since we are part of the County Big Lakes Fire Department kind of thing, we're following in the evaluation process, and he's quite pleased. I'm assuming we aren't going to get a glowing report card, but he's quite impressed with the stuff that we have going on and are doing, and doing things that need to get done. So he was quite happy with the day. Like I said, I spent Monday and Tuesday with him, so basically office has been closed, and that's what we've been doing. He's been asking me a whole bunch of questions, went through all of our equipment, documentation and stuff like that, and the report supposed to be coming out sometimes in December. He's hoping like a pre-draft in December, and it's going to be evaluation of basically Town of High Prairie Fire Department and all the county fire departments, and things that they need to work on and improve, and things that you're doing good, that kind of thing. So, but I come out of there feeling pretty good.
All right, I just want to comment, it's glad to hear that the recruitment went so successful, and I can tell an old teacher when you're talking about lesson plans to get them all trained up. Ken never mentioned that much before. Yeah. And I'm also really happy to hear, using Facebook to quell some of the rumors and get some of the facts out there on a major event like that. I think that's fantastic. That's a great way to use the social media that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a fast way to do it.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's a good job, because otherwise the rumors get out there and you never know what's out there for the facts, so it's good to know. All right, well, thank you for your report. We have a motion to receive his report for information. All those in favor? It is carried.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Move on to our Public Works report. Can I get a motion on this one? Councillor Law?
The council received the October 2020 Public Works Report as presented for information.
All right, and I'll turn it over to our Public Works Superintendent.
Really, it's November, and it's pretty much the same as every year. What we're doing is tidying up from summer construction season and getting everything ready for winter. I know you know about the raw water reservoir slide. We repaired that as per MP's design and recommendations, and I'm open for questions.
All right. Any questions? Councilor Gilroy.
prior to the snow, were there any major potholes in that you had identified that probably needed to be filled in?
We spent the last couple of weeks prior to the snow with fixing excavation and as many potholes as we could before
I
the snow.
saw your group along by A&W the other day
Yeah.
doing some work there.
Yeah.
All right, I had a question, just preparing for the fall discharge of the storage cell at the lagoon.
Yep.
What do you do there? You just
We have to advertise, we have to order in sample bottles, we have to take a pre-sample before we're allowed to dump. Just basically preparing for when we do open the valves. So
Okay.
we have to get a positive result back before we can open the valves.
You just open the valves and release the water out onto a field? Is that?
No, it goes into the West Prairie River.
Oh, it goes into the
Yeah,
West Prairie.
we have a channel and it goes in there, yeah. So it's treated water, it's not sewage. It's better than what we pull out of there and treat back in the plant.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, I was just wondering what that was.
Yeah, there's just certain preparations that have to be done prior to us being allowed to open up.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions, Tom? Oh, I can see that you guys have been busy. They were outside my house, I think, flushing the
Hydrants?
not the hydrants, the sewers
Oh,
system.
yeah.
And the vac truck out there. So yeah.
Were you able, did you guys pull the suction pump out of the river?
Yep, it's out.
Oh, it's out, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you started freezing, it was still in.
Yeah, no, it's out. It's been out for 2 weeks now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, saw your guys out hanging lights too, so.
Yeah, and actually, like Chris mentioned in his public delegation, we did finish up today, and we will be doing a trial run with the lights and see what needs to be improved areas.
Great. All right, thank you very much. And we have his motion to receive for his report for information. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to our minutes from October 27th. Can I get a motion? Councillor Long? Yeah, it was Councillor.
The council approved the minutes from the October 27th, 2020 regular meeting of council as presented.
All right. Any changes needed to these minutes? All right, seeing none, all in favor? It is carried. And moving on to our minutes for the organizational meeting. Can I get a motion on that? Councillor Gilroy?
Then council approve the minutes from the October 27th, 2020 organizational meeting as presented.
All right. Any changes, alterations needed there? Okay. Councillor Senhouse?
The appointment of my committees, it says that I'm an alternate on the Heart River Housing and the Airport Commission. I'm actually just on the Airport Commission, not an alternate.
Yeah, we changed the airport one, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not the alternate in the Harper?
Yeah,
I am, but
we changed her to an actual member of the airport commission because they needed two, not just.
Oh, they changed that from 2 to 1?
No, I guess it's always been two. We've just only ever put one.
Oh.
Well, when I think of that one now, I'm just thinking there was two, and then once we
Back down on.
turned it over, it went to one, but I'm not sure if that ever got adjusted or in the new,
It's listed as one counselor and one alternate on this one.
no, but on the
On the
actual
terms of reference or
for
two.
that committee, it might have been two.
Yeah, and the county called and asked why we don't have
Oh, okay,
two
so-
on there.
Good.
So,
So there is that one alteration to the minutes. Good catch. Anything else? So we have a motion to receive them as presented. Do you want to make a slight alteration to that motion and say with the one amendment?
Sure.
Okay. All those in favor? It's carried. Moving on to item 6.1, the face covering bylaw. Can I get a motion on that? Councillor Long?
The council give third and final reading bylaw 18/2020, the mandatory face covering bylaw, this 10th day of November 2020.
All right. Councillor Gilroy?
Just a couple of questions before we vote on this. One is, I myself I was disappointed that we didn't actually take this back to bylaws, so we could talk about it some more. But in the meantime, I have talked to probably between 30 and 40 residents to find out what they want and how they look at it. And it's probably been about a 60-40 split in favor of passing this. That includes large employers, middle employers, little employers, and people of all nationalities. But before we do it, I would really like to know how many people each of our council members have actually contacted in our community since we're responsible to them. Or have we just said, it's here, let's vote on it? I'd like to know if you've actually talked to the people who voted us in. Because we're supposed to represent our people, not just make something sound interesting. So I would like to find out how many of the councillors actually talk to people in our community other than our family members and got an opinion that way.
Councillor Stenhouse?
Okay, I'll start. I talked to a lot of people, and my feedback wasn't the same as yours, as a 60-40 split. The ones who were in favor for it weren't in favor for it for the right reasons, as in it's going to stop the transmission. It was more, if I've got to wear it, why shouldn't everybody else? The other percentage were not for it because there's no facts backing the face mask, and if it actually stops the transmission. Listen to Dr. Henshaw, listen to all the other experts who are speaking. They're putting the face masks at the lower end of the checklist for recommendations. For this face mask thing to work, it's got to go Canada-wide. You can't go from one region to another. You see the problems in BC where they get on a SkyTrain in the one area it's mandatory, the next area it's not. I'm still against this bylaw for the town council. If the province so wants to put it in and call it, let it be that way. But for us, with no backing, no proof, because we are so split on how these face masks work and what they do, I'm not for it. And I find it very ironic that on November 10th, we're debating this when tomorrow is Remembrance Day, and we're going to honor the soldiers who gave us the freedom of speech, thought, and to make our own decisions. That's all I got to say on that.
Well said.
I can add, I've talked to quite a few people, and it's been mixed. It's a polarized topic. There are certainly some that are all in favor for it, and there's certainly some that don't think that we should have it, that we don't need it. So it's a divisive topic. It's not one where there is unanimous agreement out there from my experience talking with them. Yeah, that would be my comments on the people I've talked to. Most of the people, I mean, they'll do it if they had to, but don't really know if it's gonna do any good, like you were mentioning, if it's good. Right now, with no cases, they don't think that we should need it, and had to, remind people that this bylaw would only kick in as if we had quite a few cases in our region, meaning 15. So it would be, a higher number of cases. We're at 0 right now, but that can change in a couple of days. We could be at 15 tomorrow, right? It happens quick when it does come. Councillor Long, then Councillor Danaka.
Just to answer Councillor Gilroy's question, about 30 people, I guess, and mixed again. I don't know if it's how you present or whatever, but mine was more around 70-30, and again, as Councillor Stenhouse said, like there were some people saying, "Oh, I'll wear a mask," but just for the totally an obscure reason that you just, not because anybody else is wearing it or whatever, but not necessarily for the right reason. But overall, I think it was, people are resigned to the fact that it's coming and that it is an effective way to protect other people. But nobody's really happy about it, I don't think, but it's a fact of life.
Okay, Councillor Danaka.
Like all the other councillors have mentioned, the people that I've talked to at work and in my daily travels, it's been mixed. Some are vehemently for it, others are vehemently against it. As the mayor has said, it's not a clear-cut issue, it's a divisive issue. I mean, I look around at the areas that are around us. Greenview and Valley View have implemented, they've got 15 cases, I think. Whitecourt is looking at this because they've got 21. And I believe, as Councillor Long had said, I think eventually people are realizing that a mandatory mask order from the government is a potential in the next little while if what they're saying with the numbers is what's happening with the spike in overall in Alberta. But again, like I said, for the people that I've talked to, some are vehemently for it, others are vehemently against it. So I'm not exactly sure how you want to take that information that everybody seems to have encountered people who are for and against. So
Haven't heard from Councillor Corley, I'll give him his.
Some of the people I've talked to I've had wide ranges right from, I'm not a sheep, I'm not doing what everybody's, I'm not doing what I'm told, I'm my own mind and I'll look after myself, right? And I've had other people say, well, only if we really have to, but nobody likes it. Nobody wants it. And the majority of the attitudes I've come across is that fact, is that they're not going to. They don't want to. Whether it's mandatory or not. And it's their, it keeps getting thrown at me, it's my right, I can do whatever I want, right? Blah, 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 right? That's the majority I heard. I even had some people say, when I've asked, well, what if it's mandatory going into a place where they shop? They said, no, I just won't go. I'm not shopping there.
You don't contaminate people.
Right? So, yeah. A couple people have said, oh yeah, well, wearing it only because I think I'm sick, right? If you think you're sick, then wear it, or don't go out in public. That's the attitudes I've had. So.
All right.
No.
Oh.
No.
No.
No, you already
No.
with me?
I am gonna argue with it.
That's what people told me.
He was saying,
No, I want to talk about this bylaw. It comes with numbers. And we had a heated discussion on the last one. And if you're so adamant about the numbers, why are you waiting for 15? Why not do it at 0? You say that High Prairie's been, in the last meeting, or last discussion, High Prairie's been lucky. Have they been lucky, or is it because they've been taking this seriously and being very careful? People come in and out of the town all the time. And I'm not going to go there. No, I can't support this. I still believe that people should have, like you say, let the businesses set their guidelines. If they don't want to wear it to enter that business or follow that business's rules, so be it. But for us to implement it and know so much more than everybody else, another comment was, well, Grand Prairie's doing it, and Edmonton's doing it. We're not Grand Prairie, we're not Edmonton. And look at their numbers. They've got a mandatory mask bylaw. We're at 0.
All right, everybody's had a chance, the last chance to say anything, and then we'll vote. Councillor, go ahead.
The numbers thing is quite an interesting thing, because the people I talked to, most of them, when I said 15, that's when they said, that's a good idea. To Arlen's comment, do you think that the people you talk to, instead of saying go to the grocery store, if they have to wear it to go to a Red Wings game, would they stop going to hockey? They said, so they'd avoid the arena if they had to wear it? Okay, that's an important thing to think about. I think part of it was that I think they were wondering if we were just going to impose it upon our own facilities. And then,
for that.
well, other people talked about it too. Were you like behind Arlen and I when we were talking to people? Because like the humorous part is that this is what other people are saying too. They're saying, you know, the businesses are saying, we've got corporate, we can deal with it. We've got our head office will tell us what to do, and so we don't need the town telling us what to do. So maybe this should have been strictly just for areas that we control, like the library, the museum, and town-owned properties and town employees, because we are responsible for them. And take a little stress off our peace officer, who would have to have a lot of people to talk to. I don't think he'd have time to do anything else. So I'm just wondering if we should have made it strictly just the town property, town employees.
All right.
When we had the open discussion on that, I was willing to compromise on the face mask and say, make it to town-owned facilities. But according to the bylaw, half of the town-owned facilities are exempt from this bylaw, this face mask bylaw.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to give this third and final reading. I've gone over it again. We've had some of the discussions. We had a lengthy discussion last time also. So I'll call the question and vote on it. And all of those in favor? Opposed? It is carried. Moving on to our December 22nd council meeting. Can I get a motion on 8.1? Councillor Danaka.
I make a motion that council cancel the December 22nd, 2020 regular meeting of council and direct administration to advertise the cancellation.
Anybody in disagreement with this? I didn't think so. All in favor? Oh, I haven't. Okay, Donna voted in favor. Okay, good. Item 8.2, High Prairie and District Children's Resource Council Board. Can I have a motion there? Councillor Gilroy.
The council appoint a counselor to sit on the High Prairie and District Children's Resource Council's board and appoint another counselor as the alternate until the next organizational meeting. And the reason I say that is we need to ask the counselors if they know when, and I brought this up before, when they meet, because to just put them on the board and not tell when they meet is counterproductive due to scheduling. And I believe they meet the third Monday every month at 6:30.
Okay. Councillor Danaka.
It says in the discussions that you were gonna talk to Councillor Rose, and what was her take on having somebody on that committee?
She only attended a couple of meetings. She wants to, when I talked to her, that's what she said. So, she wanted to, I guess, give those parameters around her discussion, and that she said in the meetings that she attended, it was very much operational issues. It wasn't much that was needed from a council's perspective. She wasn't, she said that she would probably recommend it was, we had talked about the liaison, if they had an issue that they could have us attend on that behalf, was sort of where she thought would be the right place to go with this one. Councillor Gilroy?
Are you recommending then that we make an amendment to say that the point person sit on the High Prairie and District Children's Resource Council Board as a liaison?
Yeah, if I'm, judging.
Because I'm willing to change it if that's what this council wants.
Yeah, like I say, I'm judging by the comments that I got, I would think that, if it was really needed, that might be the way to go, is just to be a liaison if they needed it, and then attend. But again, I don't know that much about that board and what they do. So, Councillor Long?
If it was a liaison position, and certainly if the Slade Lake Council was still sitting on that board, I'd be willing to be the liaison for that.
Okay, well, we can't guarantee the other one, so.
I know.
So it would be, you're there or you're not.
I'll do it.
Okay. Okay,
She won't like me.
yeah. All right. Is there anybody that would like to be an alternate in that case, if needed?
I swear too much for children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I don't mean to pick on this board, but, so we have not eliminated any of our committees and boards. Then,
Yeah.
Very necessary, how's that?
Well, we went through a lot of them, and we did that in our organizational meeting. We can't go over it every meeting, so we'll have to say that's where we're at.
one, and then we
Yeah.
downgraded two others.
another one.
Yeah, but we need a,
Assistant liaison.
Do you want to go as the alternate since it's a Monday night at 6:30? One Monday.
When do they meet?
They meet the third Monday of every month at 6:30, I believe.
Well, I can be the alternate.
okay,
I don't want to grab all the.
all right, so, any other discussion on this one?
Yeah, third Monday.
And it's going to be explained to them that this is a liaison.
Yeah, I think what we should do is at their next meeting, have you attend, explain that this is what we'd like to do, and go from there.
Okay.
Since the liaisons are here, you do explain a lot better.
I think we should send an official letter as well, stating that Councillor Long is on the board in a liaison capacity.
Yeah. Councillor Gilroy?
So can I amend it twice? Because I will amend it then to say that the council appoint Michael Long, or Councillor Long, to sit on the High Prairie District Children's Resource Council Board, and appoint Councillor Danaka, or Don Danaka, as the alternate until the next organizational meeting. How's that?
Yes.
So that we can just,
Okay. Well, what about it in the liaison capacity?
oh, sorry. The High Prairie Children's Resource Council Board as a liaison and appoint. Yeah, we'll just put that as a liaison in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you get that, Nancy? All right. All in favor? It's carried. 8.3, library board appointment. Can I get a motion on this one? Councillor Gilroy?
The council approved the appointment of Big Lakes County Councillor Richard Samard to the High Prairie Municipal Library until the next organizational meeting held in 2021.
Councillor Stenhouse?
So I need some clarification on this one. The posting was for a member at large, so how can a councillor be a member at large on a board?
Not the same thing.
Councillor Gilroy?
We actually discussed this at the last library meeting, and in this particular case, the only reason we're dealing with it as a council is because it's called the High Prairie Municipal Library, and so technically we have to approve of whatever the county appoints, because according to the bylaws, that's just the way it works. So it's not like we're appointing him, we're just saying that whatever the county appointed him, and we're agreeing it so that we're putting him on. That's according to what they said at the last library meeting.
So he's going as a councillor, not as member at large?
He's going as a representative from Big Lakes County, because they're in charge of who they put on the board, and we just have to, because it's our library in a sense, we have to approve it according to the library board.
Okay.
All right. All in favor? Carried. 8.4, appointment of members at large. Councillor Danaka?
I make a motion that council appoint Ron Rose, Gord Olson, and James Wakel as members at large to sit on the Municipal Planning Commission, and appoint John Fleming as a fully trained member to the Intermunicipal Subdivision and Development Appeal Board.
All right. Councillor Gilroy?
I was looking at what we have as our bylaw, which is bylaw 17/2001, on our website, and I was a little disturbed in the sense that according to the ability to be on here, you just have to be it's comprised of members of the public. I think this needs to go back after this meeting, goes back to the bylaw review, because there's nothing in there that suggests what they mean by a member of the general public. That would be, it says, composition of municipal planning commission. The board shall consist of 2 members of council and 3 members of the general public, who shall be appointed by resolution of council. That's point 1 in there, and that could be anybody. You could, if it's a general public, it means nothing really, unless you have a defined definition of what the general public is. Is it someone from Edmonton who's going to come in? Is it going to be someone from Grand Prairie? Smoky? You're just saying general public here, and they're determining how our town works. So I'd like to have this sent back to bylaw to be more specific on that. And secondly, it's interesting that it also talked about the terms of the people who were appointed here, and unless we've changed it somehow, the appointment is actually from, let's see, the appointment is more than 1 year at a time. So then we don't necessarily have to do this going again and again. So I just found it very interesting that this is in some ways I wonder if this actually discourages people from our town, and in some ways I'm very discouraged that more of our people, and Chris, you can write this, I'm very discouraged that more of the people in our town of High Prairie who want to see our town succeed are not applying for these sort of positions. Because it is our town and we need to invest in it. And so, that's all I have to say about that is, but if we can make motion afterwards just to send that back to bylaw or just have it go to bylaw update, because I think it needs to be clarified. Because they're both from the county.
Okay.
I'm confused as to what you're saying.
I'm saying that the Municipal Planning Commission's purpose is to build our town.
Right?
And what we've done is we've not said that the people who are able to be on here are from our town. They can be from anywhere. It says general public.
Right.
It doesn't say Big Lakes County. It doesn't say our town. Anybody could see this and actually apply.
Right.
And we'd have anywhere across Canada. This is general public.
Right.
So I want it more specific to deal with our town or Big Lakes County, if that's what you want to say. But I want it actually so that if you read this, you know specifically where the people are to come from, and that does not say this. And secondly, we're appointing everyone every year, and according to this, here it is right here, the term of 2B, the term of the office of the members of the commission shall be from the time of appointment to the next general election. Yeah, next general election. And so, unless we've changed it, this needs to be changed because we're bringing these people in every single year and renewing it. So it needs to be updated. Otherwise, why are we going through this every year when the person's supposed to be from? And same with Michael and I, we shouldn't be talking about this every year because we're supposed to be there for all 4 years if we're put there first year. So that's why it needs clarification under the bylaw because we're not following it.
So what are we gonna do with this motion then?
Well, we have a motion to appoint the 3 people to it. It's unrelated to the bylaw that exists on this. So I think we can deal with the bylaw separately. I think we need to separate the 2 issues. Who do we want to appoint now? And if there's issues, we can refer the other one back to bylaw to review. So let's deal with the one issue dealing with who we want to appoint. Is there any other discussion on the who? Everybody's good with that? All in favor? Opposed?
Against the bylaw.
Okay. And you want to make another motion?
And can I make a motion to send this back?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I make a motion that we take bylaw 17/2001, Municipal Planning Commission, and we send it to the bylaw committee to update.
Okay.
And clarify.
Any discussions on that? No, and I'll just add for the bylaw committee, I mean, I know when I was on it before, the intent, and I'm not sure, was to review all of the bylaws every 5 years and try to do that. So when I hear this one is 2001, it's 20 years old, that hopefully we can not have any bylaws that are that old and that we're picking those ones that are older and going through them and making sure that we're refreshing those and getting them up a little newer standards.
And that's
as
right
we
off
go.
our website.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments on this one? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried.
What's that bylaw number?
Here, you can.
Moving on to item 8.5, the opportunity to purchase equipment on the fleet purchase. Councillor Courtley?
I make a motion that council approve the allocation of $250,000 from reserves to be dedicated to the purchasing used equipment or fleet vehicles at discounted pricing. When a purchase is made, administration will inform council.
Okay. discussion, Councillor Gilroy.
I like the idea of it because it's saving us money. At the same time, would it be possible to get a running tally? So for example, I'm not making it part of the motion, but if, for example, we put $250,000 out there, if we're getting a report on the vehicles we get, can we have a running tally of what's left of that $250,000? So that we know how the money's, how well we're doing?
So, through the chair, yeah, the whole intent is to keep council fully engaged in the process. And so, the way we drafted this report in motion was that, if we were successful at a purchase of something, we'd come back to council right after the purchase. And so, what Vern and I have been discussing is there's probably be learnings as we go through this process, because it is something fairly unique, and so it's reporting back to council that time, indicating how it went, and so it would always be made completely public as to what's there. And I mean, maybe it comes back that there's even more good deals. We may ask council, do you want to consider additional purchases, or other things that we think are going to come up is how are we going to dispose of some of these vehicles? Like, who are we going to pay when we buy? Maybe the market's really, really low. So we fully anticipate that there'll be additional discussion once we do our first purchase. So the short answer, or I guess I gave you the long answer, but the short answer is absolutely, I think, is this is a unique pilot. We really want to ensure council is fully aware of what's happening. It's not like going buying a new piece of equipment. It's pretty simple. I say these are the specs and buy them. This is going to be fairly unique, and hopefully it's a huge success.
As I said, just want a running total, and that's good. Thank you.
Anything else? I guess my question then is, is 250,000 enough? I know, and I'm going to ask that because I know what a vac truck new is worth, and I know that there's some good deals right now, and I'm not sure what the focus is for these purchases. So I just wanted to throw that out there and see if that's going to work.
So we did talk about this, and one of the numbers we threw out was the 450, because that was what was included in the capital budget this year for a back truck. So we did banter around that number, but because this was a pilot, we thought maybe council would be a little bit more comfortable with the 250. We did think, one of the positives with some of these options anyways is that we know of the equipment that's for sale typically several days before, and because there'd be research required, meaning if there was some equipment that we felt they were interested in, we'd go on site, take a look at it, and after doing that, if we thought there was some really potentially interesting deals, we talked about maybe even calling an emergency meeting if there was a ton of equipment there that we could potentially purchase. So say we thought maybe on the conservative side, because this is a pilot project, but if council has the confidence in administration to ensure that we're purchasing equipment at a good deal, we could absolutely go up to the 450. It was something we did talk about.
I know the priority was the vac truck, and we identified that earlier. Can we get a good vac truck for that price, or are priorities changed? Oh, Vern's going to come and speak on it.
At the last, or not the last Ritchie Brothers sale, but the one in September in Edmonton, they had 7 flusher trucks there. The highest one went for $42,000. It was a 2009 Peterbilt, three-stage fan, boiler unit, exactly what we're using right now. So we missed out on that opportunity, and that is where this whole RFD has come from. The last, at a Ritchie Brothers sale here in October in Edmonton, there was a 2009 Cat 14H grader, similar size to what we're using now, $89,000. So we're missing out on and that's not to say that it was great shape or anything, but from the pictures it looked fairly good. But we're missing out on purchases right now, and I anticipate that a lot of companies right now are getting rid of their equipment because they don't want to make payments over the winter. And they will be going back in the spring and purchasing equipment for the construction season. And then again in the fall of 2021, we'll be doing the same thing, relieving themselves of inventory that is just going to sit in a yard and not make money. So I believe this is an opportunity for us to improve our fleet and modernize our fleet at substantially less dollars.
Okay, and so what I'm hearing is, you know, with the dollar figures that you're given, that would probably be enough to get us some of the equipment that's needed, and then, as was mentioned, if there was something additional, we could deal with that, and
Yeah.
there'd be time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we may only get one piece of equipment. Chances are I'm pretty cheap. I'm not going to spend $250,000 on one piece of equipment.
Councillor Corley?
And might not get any,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
you have to be ready.
Yeah.
And then this opportunity knocks, you have to be ready to have it.
And this gives us the freedom to be able to, if something arises, that we're there and we can be part of the process and hopefully get something that is fairly decent and to improve our fleet.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions while we're in?
I guess you can't get a good fire truck
Okay.
from that.
Well, we don't have anything else. All in favor? It's carried. Moving on to our addendum, item 8.6, the Alberta Rural Bus Service. Get a motion on this one? Councillor Gilroy?
That the mayor inform our MLA of the busing letter and request that he ask the provincial government to ensure that busing services remain open to the rural residents of Alberta. Is that the only people you wanted to write it to, not to the Minister of Transportation as well?
Your worship, the letter did indicate to contact your local MLA. So, I mean, I have to read that because originally I was thinking the same thing. So I guess
No offense to our local MLA, but I think I'd rather send it to the Minister of Transportation as well. But that's, so can I add that to our, inform our MLA and send a copy to the Minister of Transportation?
It is your motion, so
Okay.
you can make it read the way you want.
Okay, actually it should be the, you're asking for a letter though, aren't you? So, because I'm looking at the recommendation just says inform him of the letter. So, I think it needs to be worded differently, I'm sorry. That the mayor address
How
a
about
letter?
you just say that council send a letter
Thank you.
to
The
our
council
MLA.
send a letter to our MLA, Pat Rain, and to the Minister of Transportation, Rick McIver, I believe it is. And request that he, or that they, ask the provincial government to ensure that busing services remain open to the rural residents of Alberta.
Okay, if that's your, is that your motion?
That's what I want to see happen. So
Okay.
that's my motion.
Discussion on this? Go ahead.
So this addendum is a little bit different than the email that we received. The email we received stated they were looking for a financial. They were requesting financial assistance.
From the government, not from us.
Yeah. They just asked us for a letter.
Yeah, they're not asking for money from us, they just want support for their request to the province.
Because all the money went to big cities.
Well, I mean, it's obvious, the bus lines are hurting with COVID and everything also, like so many businesses. And, you know, and I'm sort of mixed in some ways because it's, you know, why should we support one business versus all of the other businesses that are out there? But it is a busing service to our residents, so without that service, our residents, like I can see that one being, but so are a lot of the other businesses that are hurting. So it's a bit of a tough one for me, to be honest, because I can, you know, should we be supporting one businesses and not other businesses? For example, you know, the children's stollery asked for our support when it was coming to letters and funding, and we said no to them because we know that there's a shortage of money at the provincial level, and give to them, maybe some of the other businesses and other municipalities aren't going to get funding they need. But the flip side is this is an important service to get people in and out of our community, and if they're down and out, that's going to leave our community short. Councillor Gilroy.
I do know that when we do have staff at our hospital that sometimes come up from Edmonton and Calgary and places like that, not all of them drive. And so that's one important thing. But I guess what I'm looking at with it is the fact that the letter said that all the money is going to the big cities, which means that it's not just us. They want it to all rural areas. So in that particular case, there are a lot of rural areas that need the busing, and maybe they should be reconsidering how they're spending the money, not adding to it, but spending the money. So maybe less goes to Calgary and Edmonton, and they think about the rural areas in the same vein as opposed to those main areas.
Councillor Danaka?
Having rural bus service is essential. The unfortunate thing with COVID and having no bus service is many people in our community use that bus service to attend their doctor's appointments, medical appointments in Edmonton. And unfortunately, they've had to either make other arrangements or not go at all because they don't have that transportation. So, I mean, if we can support them with a letter saying how essential and necessary rural bus service is to our community and other rural communities, I think that's a small price to pay for trying to keep that service for our residents.
Does anyone have any idea how many people use the bus service? Like how many people on a daily basis or weekly basis ride the bus? I don't have an idea. I don't know. Councillor Gordon?
When the Northern Express was doing their shift change at A&W parking lot, anytime you could see anywhere from 3 to 15 people.
Getting on from High Prairie?
Yeah.
Is that right?
And we used to rescue them lots.
Yeah.
We'd pick them up, and there's always anywhere, like I say, anywhere between 3 to 15, sometimes 20 people on the bus.
I mean, on the bus, but they're coming from other communities? Or
Well, like, for example, like Northern Express used to run from High Level to High Prairie, and then back to High Level, and then they'd switch in High Prairie, and High Prairie go, and the bus would go from Edmonton to High Prairie back.
Right, and there'd be 20 people, but
Yeah.
they might be from High Level and
Exactly.
stuff too. But how
And they
many
were-
from High Prairie?
No idea.
Oh, okay.
No idea.
That's
But-
what I was kind of wondering.
But that they would stop in they had certain areas that they would stop and pick up or let off. So, but while I'm talking, I guess you know what, I feel for them and I understand what they're going through, but where does it stop? Who do you? Maybe everybody should get funding, right? Every business that's in trouble. It's a business. That's a chance, and that's what you do. It's bad times. It's what it is. Maybe the taxi people need money too, and maybe goes on and on and on and on. Where does it end? It doesn't end. So I don't support a letter. You know, I have lots of buddies that are trucking companies that are going under right now. You know, maybe we should all band together, get a letter together, right?
Yeah.
We're like, it's
I mean,
essential
they're trying,
service.
you can't fault them, they're trying.
They're trying. I give them full credit, but it's not something I can support.
Yeah.
And you know, it's what it is. That's I really have nothing else to add. It's just business.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in on this one? And I guess that was my dilemma, right? It is a business, but the flip side of it is it's a business that services our community, right? And are residents going to be really harm done by it? And I mean, if we can, I get a feeling if we could switch some of that money from the city transportation that they've given, the grants to them, and change that to rural, I'd be all over it, as opposed to new money and everything else. That's where I'm at, because they haven't been thinking about rural transportation, and the focus has been on the urban transportations.
Like all these four companies, they basically fired up after Greyhound shut down the rural transport, right, in Alberta. And that's one of the things that, if it was that important, I think the Alberta government would have backed Greyhound then. You know what I mean? And that was their plea back then to the Alberta government was, we need funding to continue, and they basically stiff-armed them then, right? So it's one of those things.
Yeah, and I know the Greyhound used to be a major route of transporting goods, right? Like you always were shipping freight back and forth, and that's not used anymore with Perlator and other courier services taking that part of the market away. So it is more just the transportation of people now than it ever was before.
And that's diminished to nothing.
I'm really on the fence on this.
IMP?
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're supporting them business.
Okay, all of those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that motion's defeated. Moving on to item 8.7, the Slave Lake Council video. I'll turn that over to Councillor Long. We need a motion to start. Yep, go ahead.
I move that I make my presentation to council regarding the comments made at the Slave Lake Council.
Okay, and just saying for information at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
And it all comes down to what is systemic racism. I'm going to really try to put forward this with the understanding that I can't be angrier than the people who've had to endure. Right? It's just a philosophy that's always been there, but I'm also speaking and bringing this up on behalf of my grandkids. Their last name's Latterroot. And here I sit. What kind of a grandfather would I be if I didn't take a stand? So I respectfully ask for your indulgence and your time as I bring forward this issue. The comments made by Slave Lake Councillor Joy McGregor was at best callous and at its worst blatantly racist. While discussing the issues of homelessness, substance abuse in the Friendship Center, the MAP program, and the High Prairie Children's Resource Center, the following was stated by Councillor Joy McGregor. Joy makes reference to and says that those people who are homeless but are not home from Slave Lake don't call Slave Lake their home, should go back to where they came from. Wabasca, Peerless Lake, Trout Lake. She named those 3 communities out front. The irony is not lost that a person named McGregor, sitting on Sawridge Cree Nation land, is telling other Cree Nations to go back where they came from. Something is missing there. She went on to scold the Northern Lakes College for allowing the homeless people to charge their phones from their car plug-ins and allowing them to congregate while their phones were charging. It's an eyesore as you drive into the downtown, she said. She said, if she were to do that, would the college chase her off the parking lot? Would they tell her to go away and take her phone away? She said to the people of Slave Lake, she said, don't be kind to them, don't feed them, they'll leave. She wondered if the college would ask her to leave if she tried to use the phone plug-ins. She stated that those people have been stealing hand sanitizer and that businesses would have to start putting it behind the counters like they do with rubbing alcohol, Lysol, and vanilla. She then went on to talk about the High Prairie Children's Resource Center and said that she was a dollars and cents kind of person and that the director of the CRC and Councillor McGregor would have issues, but that she wanted to be positive. Many of the clients, moms, dads, grandparents, and many of the babies and toddlers are Métis or First Nations. Those very people who live in those communities in the bush, as she stated, are the relatives of those people. Councillor Gilroy can attest to the concerns from the CRC. I will state that she cannot remain on that council or sit on that position in the CRC. She cannot, in all fairness to the people who are using the CRC, the mums and the kids, to have that person sitting on the board making and voting decisions and having her reflect her values the way they are, she is not the right person for the Children's Resource Center. She went on to question the priorities of the Friendship Center and question their mandate. Is it the role of the FC to help homeless people, or is it a pet project of the director? The mayor then chimed in. He had concerns around the MAP program and was it being abused? Are people coming to town, and the mayor used Jimmy as an example. Jimmy is coming to town to party, and then he's going to crash at the shelter? Or is it homeless people in the town using the facility? Or is it homeless people in the town, but how many of them are actually from Wabasca, Trout, etc.? They have debit cards and bank accounts. They could stay at a hotel, but instead they crash at the center. That's from the mayor of Slave Lake. And if it's that what you really think, mental health is the first and foremost issue, and you need to trust the mental health worker. But it can't happen as long as we have elected officials that still comfortably use racist stereotypes from the 60s. Councillor McGregor, before she started on this half-hour rant, said, people are going to be angry at me for saying this. People are going to shoot me for saying this. She has thought this through. She has put this to pen and paper and then spews it out over the television, over the internet, over all across Canada, all on her news agencies, and it's now global. I am sure that the business people of Slave Lake are really happy that she has put that out there as to who they are and what their town is about and what this council is about. As an elected official sitting on these boards, how can you be trusted to have these organizations and the people they serve have their best interests at heart now that they see where she stands in regards to equality and race relations? Now that these comments have gone worldwide, I'm pretty sure, as I've already stated, the business community loves the idea of First Nations boycott, which is now happening. Sadly, the silence from the remainder of council did not go unnoticed. Nobody, not the CAO, not the mayor, not a single councillor said, oh, wait a minute, point of order. What you're saying is inappropriate. Nobody. This is what systemic racism looks like. If you ever wanted to know what it is, that's what it is. When the majority sits there in all of their comfort and tears apart and degrades defenseless homeless people. That's what systemic racism is. So if you didn't know before, now you know. To that point, I think that some of the comments that have been placed to me as well is that we sit in Treaty 8 land. And we used to say, when we started our council meetings, that we sit on Treaty 8 land. When we had our first opening in the session where we were all appointed as councillors and mayor, we had a smudging, if you remember that, with Councillor Carrier. And we've worked hard, I think, to try. We're not perfect and we make mistakes all the time. But we work hard to try to work with our neighbors, our families, our friends. We work side by side with them every day at the mills, at the store. It doesn't matter where we are. The people from Pierce Lake, Trout Lake, Wabasca, Atigmig, Sucker Creek, Drift Pile, Sawridge, Gift, Peavine, and East Prairie. I think it's important that we send a letter to them, and especially Peerless, Trout, and Wabasca, who've been maligned, that clearly states that we do not support the statements from the Slave Lake Councillor or the Slave Lake Town Council. We do not support the statements and comments from the Mayor, Tyler Warman, in regards to their comments made on that September 8th meeting. I do not know why it took so long from September 8th when this meeting happened to explode yesterday the way it did, but it has. We support, in conclusion, equality and respect. We will always appreciate our close bonds, both of business and friends and neighbors. Respectfully yours on behalf of the Council of High Prairie, Mayor Panasic. Thank you, hi. And I would like to have a letter like that sent out to those communities, just to let them know that we don't reflect the comments made from that council. I did want to send a letter to council and to the mayor, but have been advised by several people, including the mayor and Brian, Councillor Gilroy, that maybe that's out of our bailiwick and that we shouldn't throw stones too hard. So I back off on that, but I would appreciate support in sending a letter to the First Nations communities and the Métis settlements that we have as friends and neighbors. And I move that to council. I'll take any questions.
Councillor Gilroy.
I'm in, after having watched the video that Councillor Lung was kind enough to send to me so I could be informed, there is one error he did make. There wasn't complete silence. I heard another councillor on there who was saying some negative things about the people. Yes, they were perpetuating stereotypes such as they will grab the hand sanitizer, steal it to drink it, and that's why they have to put it aside. All sorts of the stereotypes that we do not need, for there are many, many wonderful people that we deal with every day. That this is not good. What I did tell or advise Councillor Long is that if we did send a letter, it would be most appropriate to suggest that that particular councillor or those councillors involved issue an apology to the First Nation people that they would have offended and the Métis people, and that they deal with their own internal discipline for that sort of thing. Because Part of it, I believe, as well-intentioned as she might have been, her wording was atrocious. And we all have had times where each one of us have not come across as well as we wanted to. So I was going to cut her some slack there, but she needs to apologize for the wording she used and the illustration she used. So that's why I'm in support of the letter that Councillor Long has just asked for.
Councillor Danaka?
Not to get into who did what and who should have done what. I mean, Councillor McGregor did issue an apology on Facebook. Councillor Warman issued a video apologizing and saying that both himself and the council have a lot to learn in regards to what the First Nations have faced in the past, colonialism, etc. I'm not sure the outcome of the video from Mayor Warman, what kind of reception it had. There was also a response from, I believe, Whitefish Chief, who said that he's been asked to ask his band and residents to boycott Slave Lake, which he said he's not going to do. He wants to avoid that. He would prefer to meet with them and have a better understanding of the issues that are being faced. There are a lot of angry, upset Métis and First Nation people in our community who are appalled by the comments made by the councillor and the lack of response from any of the mayor and her councils as she was speaking using the terminology that Councillor Long has quoted in his explanation. I mean, this is an issue for Slave Lake and their council to deal with in terms of how they're going forward, but having our council send letters to our First Nations that we deal with stating that we do not accept or approve of that terminology used, I think is, what's the word I'm looking for? Is favorable, showing support that we, although we're not coming out and actually saying that what she said is whatever, because that's their issue to deal with, but we do not believe that those are the issues that we need to acknowledge that as a council in High Prairie, we do not agree with the terminology used and the references made, period.
Anybody else want to help? Councillor Stenhouse?
Are those exact direct quotes that you stated? I get where you're coming from, but for us to decide what councillors should be from Slave Lake should be on what committee, I find that a little bit hypocritical coming from you, considering last meeting when you stated I had no right to be on town council and I shouldn't be. And again, the table sat quiet till the mayor stepped in.
Yeah.
And I went home, and it was hard to look at myself. Because you're a nice person, and I made you feel like shit. Sorry. This issue of having this person with such deep-seated feelings and notions of what is appropriate as a talking point regarding our First Nations people and the issues that they faced, and to hear her talk about those people over and over again, and then knowing that she had a hand in helping direct resources, funding, questioning their budgetary process for the High Prairie Children's Resource Center. In good conscience, I can't see how we could let her, knowing that their clientele has so many people from so many different First Nations and Métis communities coming to here to get parenting techniques and how to be a better mom or a better kokomar or a better grandpa, sitting there on the floor and tying a blanket. And so knowing that the people who run it and the people who attend it and utilize it, how can they, in good conscience, work with this person who clearly believes what she said? She knew she was going to get flack for what she said, and yet she still went ahead and said it. And then she's going to come here and tell them what's wrong with their organization. She's going to come here and tell them that they should spend their money differently. I don't think it can happen. I don't think we should allow that to happen. And it wasn't in the heat of the moment. It was just a matter of fact, and here the discussion started, and she just kept on going and going, and I set my timer, I went back and started it over again. It was 30 minutes of just expanding and extrapolating on all of the things that were wrong with First Nations people, those people. And then to know that she has a say in how we're going to fund and manage for the children in this community and for moms who are struggling in this community. She's not the person we want, I don't think. But I will attend, if only to make sure that when she's there, she acts on her best behavior. But.
So I'll weigh in a little bit, and I have to say that until just a little while ago, I didn't know any of this, so I haven't had time to follow all of this blowing up, so I've missed that. And so I haven't seen the video, don't know exactly what was said. You know, and from what I'm hearing, I mean, that's obviously not anything that our council would condone. We've always tried to work well with our neighbors, and I think we need to continue that. There's no question about that in my mind at all. As far as, you know, if we have any decision, we don't have any decision on who goes on the Children's Resource Council. I mean, the Children's Resource Council is made up, I mean, it's called the High Prairie Children's Resource Council, but they do look after Slave Lake too, and you know, so that's their issue to work on, not ours. So from that point of view, it's a non-issue. As far as sending a letter, you know, I don't have any objections to sending a letter. I think our neighbors know what we do and know what we represent, and we've done that fairly well. We've had, you know, some issues in the past where, you know, and we have to watch, you know, ourselves sometimes too. So we just need to be careful, and I would not have an objection to any letters being sent out saying this is, you know, we respect this. So that's where I'm coming from. Councillor Stenhouse?
But I want to be very clear on what letter we're sending. Are we sending to the First Nations explaining our stance? But I'm not in support of including that councillors be, a Slave Lake councillor be removed off of their position. That is none of our concern. Like you say, that's for them to work out.
In my opinion, absolutely, yeah. Councillor Gilroy?
Just for everyone's information, the Children's Resource Council has already made their decision on what they want to do. And so what we send has nothing to do with their decision. They've already, as a committee, or at least the executive part of it, has already made a decision on how they're going to handle this. So a letter to them saying, please remove her, would not be appropriate. However, if it came down to a vote at a meeting, then we could encourage our councillor to vote if it does not go in accordance with the vision and policies of Children's Resource Council. But that would be something that would happen at a meeting, and we do not need to write a letter for it.
Okay, you know, and I'm very happy to hear that there's been some apologies for what's been said. Again, that's great to hear. So where do we want to go from here? We had a motion to receive this for information, but at the end there was a request to write a letter. So I'll go back to Councillor Long with your motion. Oh, okay, sorry. Before we go there, you can think about, we'll go to Councillor Courtly.
Again, I really only heard about this today. This whole issue is going on down at Slave Lake. First time I heard about it, like it was this afternoon. So I have to. I think, you know what? Everybody says stupid things. I have to watch myself because I usually say stupid things too. So, but I think what's happening down there is something we can learn from, but it's still their business. It's not our business. At the end of the day, it's not our business. We have to look after what we're doing here and look after the people in our community here. Brian's right. Our local community here understands what we're doing, I think, and it. I'm not really for a letter going out right now. I'm not. That's their issue down there. I don't think it's the right thing to do. Just send a letter out to the communities. Again, that is my opinion. But that's something, if you want to watch and learn from that, you can learn from that, because obviously somebody's spewing when they didn't really think it out. And that is the worst mistake you can ever make in this position.
Councillor Gilroy?
If I could make just a small suggestion here, I'd suggest we vote on the first motion, and then if Councillor Long would like to make a second motion for the letter itself. So we do the information one, and then he can put us up, so we separate the two, and then we can just go forward as opposed to amending anything.
Sure, yeah, we can do that. All right, any more comments before we vote? Councillor Danaka?
I agree with Councillor Courtly that the what's happening in Slave Lake is their issue to deal with solely, but I think what I'm gathering from Councillor Long is a request that we as the Council of High Prairie send a letter to our communities like Sucker Creek, Drift Pile, East Prairie, stating that what was said in Slave Lake is not a truth that High Prairie believes in, basically, is sort of what I'm surmising is what you're asking.
What if you leave somebody out?
Exactly.
What if you don't send the letter to the right people? What if?
Yep.
What if you miss, Gerard? What if you miss? I'm just saying, you gotta be careful when you put out a crosser.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Councillor Danaka?
I do know one of the first responses to what was said by Councillor McGregor was from Drift Pile. They requested boycott,
yeah.
and they have received support from a number of other First Nations communities. So, I mean, that is a local one for us, Drift Pile.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that we're not supporting what they were saying in any way, shape, or form. I mean, we gotta be very clear. It's just, you know, where is our role in all of this? I know Slave Lake is gonna have to deal with this. And they'll be dealing with it for a while. So, you know, it's not our role to get in there and say how to deal with it. That's my opinion. They'll deal with that. It's just whether or not, you know, if a letter would, how well would a letter from us to our neighbors be received, right? Would it be well received? Wouldn't it be well received? I'm not sure. It's, I mean, I'm not sure what we would say to them, because I think we live what we try to express to them, right? I mean, I think we do that every day, like you say, when we're working and dealing with our neighbors all the time. But, okay, so let's, we had the one motion to receive your, yeah, your information for information. So we'll vote on that to start with. All in favor? Okay, that was easy. And is there, did you want to make another motion, Councillor Long?
I move that we send a letter to the aforementioned First Nations communities and East and Métis settlements to be sent out and signed by the mayor, his worship, and just reiterating what was stated in here, basically that we support them and that we don't support what was stated. And I guess in fairness, we can only do what we can do, and if we try to do it with the best intentions, which isn't a great phrase, but I think that if we try and at least we take a position and let the community know, and let their communities know, our business partners know, that I think that's important, that we make a stand. You stand for something or you stand for nothing. Fall for nothing.
Just remember way back when our forefathers thought it was the best intentions too.
And exactly.
Right.
And that's sort of where it comes back to, right? Like residential schools were there to be good
best
things.
Intentions then.
So
you gotta be careful with that.
That's why I say it wasn't necessarily the best thing, but we here what I'm hoping to do is just to say that we're okay, they're okay. We see them as equals, not as those people.
Councillor Danaka.
Who do you mean by the aforementioned?
Well,
Are you including Drift Pile, East Prairie, Suffern
Yeah.
Creek?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's all there. I got it. Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Stenhouse.
Just to your remarks there, do we really have to send a letter? Do not our actions speak louder than our words?
I think it's part of both, isn't it? Like it's an action, and it is our words. It's an action. It's us taking an action and taking the time to send them a letter to say that this is a good place. This is a safe place to do business. It's a kind place to do business. Nothing wrong with that.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering here, I'm hearing a lot of discussion, and I think it's all themed around the same thing as far as how people are feeling about some of the comments that were made, but maybe just as an alternative throwing out there for consideration is maybe on our website, under mayor and council, we put maybe some of our beliefs as a more global opening to everyone that comes to the heart of the Big Lakes, High Prairie. Just being more, like maybe that's one way of addressing it. So I'm just throwing that out there as a potential solution.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think we're all in the, we're all in sort of we're not condoning what was said. I haven't really, can't condone that, but, what do we need to do for our neighbors to make them feel more comfortable, if anything, right? Like, that's the big question. Councillor Gilroy.
From my interactions with a lot of the places like the Aboriginal Interagency and other First Nation groups that I've been privileged to be on their committees with, we need to make a statement. We need to make a firm statement saying that we want to and we intend to treat our First Nation Aboriginal people as equals, and that we do not condone what was said, as that is not part of our values or our beliefs here in High Prairie, and that we are always willing to work with our First Nations and Métis people to solve any problem that may arise. So we want to work in partnership with them. Sorry to use the word them, but that is, I firmly believe we need to make a statement just because of what I've heard. And remember, I'm not from here, so if I'm wrong, I'm just saying what they've been free enough to tell me about how they sometimes feel about the way we treat them in this town. We need to put something out there that says we reaffirm them.
Okay, so we have a motion for a letter. I think everybody's had a chance to speak on it. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. So we'll ask our CEO to draft the letter. Let's take a break.